Hi, in this video I get back to the lobster fisherman with a trap on his back. I'll be adding in some of the details of the base, the seaweed on the rocks and the seaweed on the lobster trap. Hope you enjoy.
First I form clay to make a hollow stone. Then I glue it to the base using a slurry of clay. I find the best way to smooth these stones is to use my finger dipped in some water or slurry and just rub it and smooth it until I get the effect or shape I'm after. Now I'm adding another stone. And of course smoothing and shaping that one as well. The base is just a little bit dry now, and I want to make sure the stones are well stuck to it. Adding another stone in front. The landing would normally be scattered with a bunch of rocks. They were usually covered with rockweed. A type of seaweed that grows in the intertidal zone and floats when the tide comes in. Here I'm doing the undercarving of the stones to form the basis of this seaweed. Just using lines that I'll shape a bit and make it so that it looks like a bed of seaweed over the rock. Now I'm forming small strings of seaweed that I will stick to the rock to help add to the effect. Rockweed fans out as it grows, and it will tend to form a little blanket over the stone that it grows on. It takes a little time to divide these pieces and make them just so and add them on, but it gives a good effect. A little smoothing with water will give the final shape of the seaweed. When doing these things, it's good practice to drop them 3 or 4 times before you actually stick them in place. Again with the dropping. Finishing up the big rock. I've been letting the figure gradually dry as I do the final details on the base, and I noticed there was a cracking up by the shoulder. So I think the armature that I used in the beginning, I got a little bit too close to the end, and maybe it was just a little big with hot glue or something. Anyway, I decided to cut it out and remove it so that I could fix it and make sure it didn't crack during firing. It turned out to be quite a little operation. I wet the clay so that it will receive the new moist clay more easily and bond to it. I push the fresh repaired clay firmly in place and use my sculpting tools to shape and get everything just the way it should be. I'm wetting the area down so that it will bond better. There was a hairline crack near the elbow that also needed some attention. I cut out a little area of the clay and put in some moist new clay and smoothed and moistened everything to make sure it bonded well. These repairs will probably need further attention as the figure dries. Now I'm adding a type of seaweed we call kelp to the base. It's usually found lying on the landing. The scientific name is Laminaria longicruris. The rockweed is Ascophyllum nodosum for those who are interested in that sort of thing. It has little air bubbles that help it float during the high tide. Oops, this piece of kelp was intended to hang off the trap, sorry. I try to glue it carefully in place in just the right spot, but I also have to add the slurry in such a way that I don't take away the detail of the trap. I won't have the seaweed hanging down from the trap because it would be so fragile and so easily broken later on after the carving is fired. I pretty much use the same approach for adding something like this type of detail to the trap. I'll first glue it on, shape it, then glue it on, then use my sculpting tools to get everything just so and maybe do a little shaping, and then finally smooth it with a brush. And now I think I'll add just a little bit of rockweed hanging out of the trap as well. I want to be careful not to hide too much of the detail of the netting. I added several little pieces in order to make this little clump of seaweed and took a bit of shaping and firming in place. With something this small, the brush and water actually do some of the shaping. And now it's time to add the kelp to the base. Kelp has a long neck, a blade, and on the front end, a little holdfast that attaches to the rocks. I'm shaping that here. And I make sure everything is well wet down so it will stick. I think I'll add another little clump of rockweed to the underside of the trap. Using the same procedure as before. And that wraps it up for this session. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.